sex word has become such a whore word. The word sex has become such a adult word. Like in the sense, nobody talks about anything. Nobody talks about anything that makes them uncomfortable.
Right.
So hence the adult certificate. So anything makes you uncomfortable, make it adult.
Yeah.
Or cut it out from the film. Because we want to just be like in warm, glovey blanket and...
Thank you so much for doing this, Anurag. It's been a year of back and forth of interview dates. You've finally given me the time. Thank you.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, but I've been like busy with my film, traveling, health, everything. So
Unconventional, like things. So that's the word that actually comes to mind when one thinks of you. You started off cutting posters and getting obsessed with Bollywood, and today you're making very unconventional cult films.
You're really done here.
Yeah.
I used to take out posters from the newspaper. They used to put posters on the second or third page. And pretend to be the owner of a cinema hall.
Oh wow!
As a child.
And how old were you at this point?
I think this was before this was between 82 to 84, 85. So I must be like 9 years old, 9 to 10. Yeah.
And did you know then that?
No.
No. So what, when you asked the very stereotypical question, what do you want to be when you grow up? What did you...
Nobody asked me this question. It was at that time, we lived in a world where your parents decided what you should be. So you're studying to be that. But my father he was from IT and he's an engineer and he insisted on maths. I was very scared of like studying maths. So I would always choose subjects that my father wouldn't know anything of.
So you chose
I chose
zoology. And then you decided to move to theatre. And
that was much later.
Grappled, much like through...
Because I was interested in writing in school, but the school magazine, the editor and the teacher who was supervising the school magazine found me too dark or too hard for a child to write something like that. So I kept my writing habit kind of a secret. And when I would try to participate in theatre, I was not like confident in the sense that I was not articulate or confident enough to be out there. So I would be relegated to the roles in the background. So I kept, and you slowly suppress that desire. So I kind of throttled that attraction to it, and it resurfaced again after I went to university.
After you went to university. And, we stumbled across an Instagram post where you said that your parents actually had to borrow money for your education. So how crucial was their support when you decided to make the pivot? You mentioned that your dad was from IT.
There was a lot of guilt.
From whose end? From your end?
From my end, because, I know they went through a lot to put us through Scindia School, through Delhi University, because where we came from, we were the only ones, like one of my richer cousins went to Doon School. And my father understood the importance of education. And he borrowed money from his sister, first cousin and sisters and people to send us to Scindia School, which is one of the most expensive public schools. And so that was always on us. And he had dreams and he had aspirations because we showed signs of like, we were good at excellence. And also being from a small town, people come and tell you that, ye kuch karega aage chal ke, banega bada hoke. Somebody had predicted something about me being a prodigy. So his dreams were much larger. And then university, I did not crack the IITs. I did not crack the PMTs, the medical exams. I did not crack any of those things. I went to the university and I picked up zoology. So I know his hopes were like coming down a little bit when he was hoping that we would crack UPSC or something. Even IM was a new thing at that time, management. But I didn't do any of those things because by then I had totally turned around. And while studying, hoping to be a microbiologist, I had totally pivoted. And it took me some experience. Like I tried to get a job. I worked on a series for some time as an assistant, and I realized this is what I would do after doing theatre and all that. And after the festival, the job hardly was like 2 weeks, and I was like, "Yahan pe nahi hoga, I had to go to Bombay."
Yeah.
And that was a big thing. When I told my dad, he was very disappointed. He said, last time I'll give you money. And he was hoping I'll come back. I'll try and come back. It's just a phase.
Yeah.
And then after that.
So this is very interesting because, you know, a lot of people face this as a crossroad, right? Like you had pivoted in your mind and you knew that this is what I want to do, but there's something that's more stable, there's something that will make you more money, or that your parents want, your family wants, in terms of weighing expectations. How do you decide when you're there?
I don't know. In the sense, I lived a lot in my head.
Okay.
So I was very naive. I didn't have the idea of the world, you know, in the sense I realized too late in life that you know, when you don't realize when you have a certain privilege. So when I was in hostel, so my life might have been a struggle in hostel, but you tend to forget somebody's paying for it.
Yeah.
You're getting 3 square meals a day. You're staying in the boarding school. You have a bed and a roof, right? And the only time you need money is on holidays, if sometimes some tiny little expense. That too in school, it was like in a checkbook form.
Yeah.
When I went to university, my pocket money was like 300 rupees a month, and which was given to my cousin. And I would go and do some tuitions and I get extra 400. So 700, I used to feel like a king. This is back in 89, 90.
Yeah.
Right? But I forgot that my dad is paying for the hostel. And the mess that you get the food in is being paid for.
Yeah.
So my idea of the world is, if 700 is what I could like live like a king in a month, 5,000 rupees will be more than enough. My idea of the world was, it totally hit me when I actually went to Bombay and realized, oh my God, I have to pay for food and I have to pay for staying, rent, and I have to pay for everything. And I was given one chance by my dad. Last time, tell me how much money you want. I will not give you anything more. It hits you harder.
It hits you harder.
And that's when I realized I've been so stupid all my life. And then you don't realize you had a certain kind of a privilege.
Yeah. So what was it like when you came to Bombay? And you've mentioned that you've spent many a nights on beaches, benches,
it was like,
parks.
because if I could get into time to Xavier's hostel, sneak in time before the gates were closed, I would spend the time in Imtiaz Ali's room. And if you could not, then I had to figure out for myself. And that depended a lot on if somebody was awake or somebody had space. If nobody had a space, then it was either the real Juhu circle, if it had a kind of a garden in between. It was actual circle which had some kind of a grassy green. If not that, then some pavement. If not that, maybe Villepalli station, and between Villepalli and Santa Cruz there was a yard where the trains used to stop. So you catch the last train and just sneak in and pretend to be passed out, and the lights go off and hoping nobody would check in. So we've done all kinds of things. So there's no permanent thing. Yeah. It would change. 1 month I spent, I remember, in front of Dadar station. It was a place where some 20 people would sleep on mattresses, paying small amount of money per day. But that was a very strange kind of bunch of people. That was where I was most scared. Yeah. But I wasn't scared on the streets. I wasn't scared anywhere else, because it's actually, that's when I realized this is the safest city that there is in this country. It was pure adventure. And I also was lucky because, one, though, I had amazing support system that had built, in the sense that Sanjana Kapoor was so kind to me that when she found out the suitcases I brought, one is just full of books. So she said, "Padha likha hai." She would let me keep my stuff there. Yeah. You know, I met very good people. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Yeah. Like in those formative years, who had, an impact, or who influenced you, or who did you seek comfort in? Like you mentioned, you would stay and crash.
Prithvi was my comfort place.
Okay.
Prithvi Theatre. Like earlier, it was Mahendra Joshi. He passed away that very year, but whatever little time I spent with him, when he cast me in a play, he opened the world to me of Prithvi. And that's when I met Makran Deshpande, Sanjana Kapoor. Makran took me on. I started working with him in theatre. One of the first influences on me. There was Shivam Nair and Sriram Raghavan, who from one small office, like one small basement office, were making things like Raman Raghav and all these things, and I got to work along with them. So there's a lot of these people who kind of served as mentors and guides. Then through all of them, I met Kamal Swaroop and then Manoj Bajpayee, Ram Gopal Verma. So these are the people who literally shaped me up.
And then you became the co-writer of Satya.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
It was a film school. It was a total film school because we made every mistake we could possibly. And there was Ram Gopal Verma to correct those mistakes. And he would literally, I still remember when I messed up badly, he asked me to do one day of second unit shoot. He was generous and kind enough to tell me how I messed up, told me how to communicate to Mazhar Kamran, who was the cameraman that time, and gave it to me again. And one roll, the film was 4.5 minutes rolls. You know, the film was shot on film then. And gave me another chance. And I was a rank newcomer with no prior experience. And then he also gave me the opportunity to shoot the first music video, the background score of Sandeep Chauta, called The Sound of Satya.
You've had a very interesting relationship with the censor board. You know, like your films get delayed, they don't get approved. How do you deal with that kind of a setback when you're just starting off in your career and it's not something
At that time, I did
foreseen?
not understand it. I didn't understand because first time it was like, why can't I do things that actually happen?
Yeah.
Why can't I say things that are true? So you just can't. Like, you know, why can't I name names? Like when you made Black Friday, like these things happen. I would like, it doesn't matter if these things happen. You can't show them on screen. I said, who said so? He says, I remember the first statement from the head of the committee of the 4 or 5 people who saw Panch. He said, cinema is healthy entertainment. Your film is neither healthy nor entertaining. And he thought I was some privileged kid because the school bag was walked in, because I walk around with my bag. And he just probably has made a random film with his father's money. And I was offended at that. So initially it was anger and not understanding and waiting and wanting to prove a point in this industry, who would not make films without stars, was not very friendly to outsiders. So all that anger at that time kept building up, piling up, and nothing would come out. And then that's when I discovered drinks in that, like a whiskey. And also at that time I discovered blogging.
Yeah.
In 2006 and when I started blogging about everything. So that became a massive turning point.
Why? In terms of just a release, or you felt like...
Not just a release, in the sense, so that blog, I thought, see, for me, I did not understand internet, right? And 2005 or 6 is when I bought my first laptop.
Wow.
And the first thing you did at that time is you search for yourself.
Google yourself,
search engine.
Yeah.
No, all those search engines were new. Gmail was by invitation at that time.
Really? Okay.
In 2004-5, Gmail was by invitation. If you could invite somebody to be on Gmail, right? And the search engine you search, and I came onto a conversation on a blog where people were talking about me with both sides having misinformation.
Correct.
So I jumped into that conversation to give them correct information. And those guys got so excited. They said, why don't you write on the same blog? It was the second month of the inception of that blog, Passion for Cinema.
Oh, wow.
And I started writing. And when I started writing, it exploded at that time, because the first time somebody from within the industry who had done movies before started writing things about how this industry functions. My understanding was, I'm writing and these 4 or 5 people that I'm talking to, they'll read it. I had no idea the world has access to it.
Yeah.
So when it exploded and suddenly every blog of mine became a newspaper article.
Did you stop after that?
After that, I didn't stop. It kind of empowered me and a lot of other people.
Yeah.
So what happened when it exploded, the blog exploded. And that's how I think people till date perceive me like that. You know, they feel like this guy is...
Like an angry young man. Yeah.
So because it exploded, and a lot of people who came onto that blog, most of them are filmmakers today. Vasan Bala, Neeraj Ghaywan, Somain Mishra, who's head of Dramatic. There was Dibakar tha, Chaitanya Tamane, Anand Gandhi, Sneha Khanwalkar also was there. I don't know, so many people. Everybody likes somebody today who was on that blog. And they're all in different jobs. Karthik Krishnan of Dice Media. Everybody was doing different cities, doing different jobs. And they started leaving their jobs and came to Bombay. I remember Ghaywan, when he reached out to me, he was in the marketing and he said, "What will be my C2C?" I said, "What is C2C?"
CTC.
CTC, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that because we didn't have a concept of it. We made low budget films.
Yeah.
I said, "मुझे नहीं मालूम तेरे को इतना पैसा मिलेगा." So,
how low budget has a low budget film been?
Yellow Boots, Gulal, almost 2 crores.
That's it. Everything.
And Panch was lowest budget. It was like 1 crore something. Everything. But I can work backwards. Like I have made low budget film as late as Raman Raghav, 3.5.
Wow.
So I work backwards a lot. It's only after Netflix came into India and OTT came into India that I started getting traction and more budgets.
Yeah. I mean, we obviously have to discuss Gangs of Wasseypur. It's a
Yeah.
cult. There's a cult following in this office. How did that happen? And how did you get, we're discussing the other day that every person who's acting is just so good. How has this cast come together,
No, but because coming from theatre,
Yeah.
one is you knew good actors.
Yeah.
You had access to good actors. And we were constantly interacting with a bunch of people. It's like it was also a kind of coming together of a lot of outsiders.
Mm.
So like industry didn't have things for us, so we created opportunities for ourselves.
Yeah.
And today like everybody is part of the industry.
Yeah.
At that time there's no other option because also one, we had very low budgets.
Mm.
The 2 parts of Gangs of Wasseypur was made in 16.5.
Wow.
And I used all my father's goodwill. And all my brother's goodwill created with Dabang.
Yeah.
That, using my brother's name and his film.
Yeah.
Using my father's goodwill to get locations, to get everything we could for free.
Hmm.
To make the film. Otherwise, it was not possible to make Gangs of Wasseypur.
Yeah. We chatted with Huma where she said that when I entered the set, I was staying in a really crap hotel,
Yeah, we had very bad
it
hotel.
was really bad. So she said, but then I saw the hotel that the director and Nawazuddin is staying for. It was even worse. So we were like, let's not
Nawaz
complain.
and Rajiv Ravi, the cameraman, they're staying in Dharamshala and making a film. So they at least had a hotel.
Yeah. She's like, then I felt fortunate. Then I was happy.
Yeah. But that's the only way we could make the movie. We would like 300 rupees a day room.
Wow.
That's where we made Wasseypur from.
Yeah. What is your fondest memory from Gangs of Wasseypur?
Fondest memories. Lots of it in the sense. Whenever we pulled off shots with no money, like burning down of the village, making a fake village,
Yeah.
and with this persona of Jaideep Helawat standing there, which kind of covered how the flame lit up with fire from behind
Yeah.
to make it larger than life. Or the blowing up of mines because we didn't have money. How do you blow up a mountain? You have to buy a mountain and blow it up.
Yeah. So then,
That is more than the budget of the whole film. So we had to find out, we had to send out from my dad and through some contact and somewhere to find a mine where when they're going to exactly blow up the
yeah. Then you could
mountain.
film it. Yeah.
So we could film it and we were waiting for it with the camera and almost sleeping. If you see the shot, we used the shot exactly from the point we started shooting because as it started, we put the camera on. So we missed the beginning of it. So it cut from midway and we got the whole shot, which is like worth more than the budget of the film for nothing.
For nothing.
So getting those things, achieving those things, achieving the action in single shot. The idea was like we will not cut away and action in single shot. So all those achievements were like quite fantastic.
Did you expect it to receive cult
No, if
following?
we expected that, we would have gotten more money for it.
Yeah,
We would have asked for it.
It was the most, I think it was so raw and authentic that people just liked it. Like there was just so much.
Yeah, we actually had no idea because when the film went to Cannes, I was like, why do they like this film so much?
Yeah.
And I felt like almost like an imposter. You have this imposter syndrome. And then when you go there and the movie started, I believed that by the time the screening gets over, I've tried to make a commercial film, I'll be exposed. I'll have the walk of shame, back from the Cannes to India.
Yeah.
So I sat outside and 5.5 hours, I was just sitting and having a drinking. And I got so drunk by the end of it. And okay, now I have the courage to face the humiliation.
Yeah.
And I walked in to feel the humiliation, it was jubilation.
Wow.
Then the life changed overnight. And next morning, the reviews were... So it did not sink in for a very long time.
Yeah. And what's the best compliment that you've received for that work, especially?
No, that time it was all compliments and I felt happy. Now it's tiresome.
Now it's tiresome.
Now it's tiresome. At that time, though, like I got compliments. Like greatest award for me is the letter from Martin Scorsese,
Yeah.
and I still hang in my office.
What did the letter say?
Nothing. That how much he enjoyed Wasseypur and Devdi and the pleasure to watch my films, and I send him my films and he sees it, and that's a great compliment. Once I remember I signed a Blu-ray of Gangs of Wasseypur for NWR, which for me was a great moment. It happened in Marrakesh and lots of things. I found a lot of friends through that film internationally.
And how does your personal life balance itself with this very chaotic world
That's the
of
only
films?
balance I never knew how to do. That's the balance. If I only knew how to balance that, then my life would have been pretty sorted. I was so consumed by movies that, and also because we were struggling to make those movies at a very small cost, is why I was working non-stop. So when I had no time to give to my...
What would be the typical hours that you would work?
Nothing. No hours.
No hours, like it's just all the time.
5 in the morning, 6 in the morning working. You slept wherever you could, wherever you could. So nothing. That's why there was no personal life. And more than anything else, that's why my daughter would be very upset. For her, it was like, at that time, my dad wasn't there.
Right.
To meet my dad, I had to go on his set.
Yeah. So have you kind of made
We have had a talk.
Yeah.
We have had long chats and we still do sometimes.
And
one day she came up and said, we need to talk. And she came out with everything and she asked me all these questions. But it has been a long process. Still talk.
Yeah. And you've unfortunately, when you're in the public eye, like you've been, all of these things are out there for people to read.
We're consumption for people.
Exactly, right? Like it's just a form of consumption. But how was it parallelly when you were actually going through it? Whether it was the divorce.
It's difficult because what happens is, I gave up long time back. I stopped getting affected, but earlier I would get affected because yes, there was a phase when I was very angry when my films were banned and I felt used and abused or attacked by the industry. So I would counterattack, I would write blogs and I would say things. And then slowly, you calm down. But the thing is, the way everybody reacts to just plain speaking. So my plain speak became a problem for me. Like when you speak plainly, but people think that you are attacking or you're angry.
It's just who you are. It's just how you speak.
It's just how I've been and I don't know how else to be.
Yeah.
Right? So many a time people don't get offended when they talk to me. But when they read the way headlines are made.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm saying something I feel is incorrect. The headline will say, Anurag slams this one down. And if I say something as it is, the headline, and people only read headlines. They don't really read the content or the article. So headlines become clickbait. So the headlines shape your persona.
Correct.
So my whole persona is shaped by headlines. And people buy into it because they think this guy must be like that because he makes films about gangsters and he makes films about psychopaths. So he also must be one. So,
So it's such a topsy-turvy life that you've lived, right? Like, seen success, seen failure, seen all of these very many things, both personally and parallelly. But love is a very important construct. Like, whether it's love for filmmaking or love in interpersonal relationships, it's what drives people. I'm sure it drives you. What is your perception on it? Given that, you have seen your personal life being up and down, even your professional life being up and down. What is your opinion on love?
Love is kind of a thing. It's like it's eluded you in a way, but also not because of anybody else's fault, but your own. Also, it took me so long to understand that it's not just how you feel; it's also how you express and how you, do things. It's in many things. I did not know how to express. I did not know how to show. I always took it like, okay, my way of loving was doing things for people. Like, one day I think my daughter also said that. She says, just because I want something and you give it to me doesn't mean that it's love, right? So, there was nobody to teach you at that time because we came from such a world. It has taken me a long time to understand the difference between. One day somebody sat me down and told me the difference between, okay, this is called a crush, this is infatuation, this is lust, this is love, this is just friendship. To separate everything from each other. Because we grew up confusing everything. You know, you had a crush on someone and you would be like, oh, I love that person. But
Yeah.
no, it isn't true. You know, and I learned it in my mid-40s.
Yeah.
Got a lecture on that in my mid-40s.
But today, what is love for you? In a simple definition, what is love?
Today is my whole thing is like, you know what, first thing is I need to fully, totally love myself.
Do you?
I'm getting there because now I spend, it's very new. It's like I prioritize my things I have over a lot of other things. So if I'm not full, I can't give anything to anyone. So I need to be full first. So my health, my own things, I'm focusing on it. I'm also trying to now make an effort to reach out to friends that I isolate myself generally. And I prefer, like when I'm writing, obviously, I can only write in isolation. And I'm more functional, I'm more productive in isolation. But I also try to reach out now. I try to be with friends. I try to do things. I tried, which I would never do that before.
Yeah.
I've been more isolated in life that way. But I try not to do that. And as it is last 3 years, like lockdown was very self-reflective for me and very bad for me in a way.
Is this something that you developed over that time when you were in isolation? Everybody was in isolation effectively.
No, from there it became kind of very heightened because I was running away from a lot of things. When the whole past associations and things and the whole life took a whole 180-degree turn post-Phantom in 2017-18. I was going from work to work, which was literally like escaping. I was shooting, I remember, Mukkabaz, I came back, I shot Sacred Games, then I shot Love Stories, I went to shoot Manmarziyan, Sacred Games Season 2, I went into shooting Choked, I did not pause for a second. And I went into shooting of Almost Pyar. I did not pause for a second because I was running away from everything. Because the whole trauma of it all and everything, I was running away from it. And suddenly the lockdown happened and I was alone. I had to face up to that trauma. I had to face up to everything. And then it started to gnaw at you, like, you know. And then slowly, everything starts to play.
Like you revisit certain things.
You revisit the whole life and you revisit everything. There's so much. I've been running from the time I came to until now. Working, either fighting with the industry or trying to prove a point, or trying to prove I can make a film without stars, or trying to prove this can exist, or trying to prove that. And it's been a non-stop trying to prove or trying to unprove that, you know, after Bombay Velvet, that no, I can go out and make a film again in low budget. It has constantly been that. And in the process, I ignored a lot of things that are important to a person or should be important to a person, to a life.
What are some of the things that are important to you?
Family, friends.
Yeah.
I think family, friends, my daughter, love, health, so many things.
So now is it a conscious decision and a conscious effort to lead a more wholesome life, right? Like
it is. I have to get there.
You have to get there.
I have to get there. Yeah, but now one is walking in that direction. One is walking in that direction.
Yeah.
And I don't want to prove any point to anyone.
Now you're just like, I proved all points.
I don't want to prove anything to anyone. I just need to, and I get disappointed with things. I still plain speak, but I'm not so angry or unnecessarily pissed off.
Yeah.
And I also tell myself it's not my business to do things.
Like let me leave it be.
Let me leave it be. Sometimes I do get affected by things. But then you're like, okay, this is how it is. Let's come back to my health.
Yeah.
Let's come back to my work.
Yeah.
Okay, get your mind off that and focus on yourself.
So am I speaking with Anurag 2.0?
I don't know which 0.0 it is. Because life has gone through so many transitions, you're changing all the time.
Constantly. Yeah.
I don't know the 5th or 6th. I don't know what it is.
You recently made a comment about, Oh My God 2 and the A rating that it received.
Yeah.
And this continues. And is this something that you feel very passionately about objectively?
I
It may have
do feel
nothing to do. Yeah.
passionately, I'm very anti-censorship
Hmm.
of any kind. But in the sense, the way they talk about it, in the sense, is not the way like sometimes articles and everybody make it sound like. It's not the way I'm saying it.
Yeah.
But my thing is always like, I do have a problem with some kind of censorship, and a film that is important, that film that is made for the young ones,
Yeah.
people in the teens.
As a social
Yeah,
message. Yeah.
so not just social messaging. It's done very in a very good way in the film. The way it addresses using things to communicate. I can't communicate like that.
Yeah.
No, as a filmmaker, that's where I'm not as massy.
Yeah.
But it uses all these elements to reach out and addresses the repression in our society,
Right.
which is so important to address. For a film like that, because the moment sex word has become such a horror word, the word sex has become such a adult word, like in the sense, nobody talks about anything. Nobody talks about anything that makes them uncomfortable.
Right.
So hence the adult certificate. So anything makes you uncomfortable, make it adult.
Yeah.
Or cut it out from the film. Because we want to just be like in warm, glovey blanket, hands. So
Be
we always feel,
protected.
we always be comfortable and nice and warm. We're not supposed to be uncomfortable, and that's why we get manipulated in life.
Yeah.
Because we don't get to confront or face up to things.
Right. No, we were even talking offline, about even the Made in Heaven episode, which you said that the cause is larger than the person.
Yeah, the cause is larger than the person. Also, plus, like there were two contrary statements again I read today. First, the person, in case, put out a statement saying she met somebody who's part of the writing team. Then that person said that, okay, the timeline, I shot for it. I know my timeline.
When you were shooting. Exactly.
Yeah, because I know they finished shooting in November, December 2021.
Yeah.
Then somebody else was saying something, but the book came out then. I said, okay, if one goes into what about it, then it always comes back to somebody else who wrote the blog first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But that person is totally sidelined. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So all those things, it's very convenient because everybody will have a convenient defense. But yes, I'm saying good, there's a discussion and arguments and everything, but nobody knows each other's process. A lot of people don't understand what a filmmaking process is, what roles people play. In the process, for me, my only cause for concern was you cancelled one person who was your voice in the film industry. I'm saying what right has been done or wrong has been done is something, if you're so passionate about it, take it to the court.
Yeah.
There are places to sort that out. But one individual who's really passionate about it, who has taken so much time to come into his own, to speak up for himself and for his people, you made him withdraw. You shrunk him. You cancelled him without knowing him. Today her statement suddenly is acknowledging him and I have respect for him. But that respect should have been there before you cancelled him.
Or before he withdrew.
Yeah. But why that change of statement? And then now the timeline shifts. So the goalposts will keep changing because you know what? There's a dire need to be, I've been wronged, I'm the one who's right. There's this dire need to prove oneself out there. But in the process, what suffers? What suffers is the larger fight, the larger battle. But anyway, it's none of my business. It is none of my business. I just said something because I know if some people in this industry whose character, whose integrity, whose everything you can vouch for, is a man like Neeraj Ghaywan. I can vouch for him. I've seen him grow from the time he came in, when he quit that big job and started working for 10,000 rupees in Gangs of Wasseypur. I've seen him go through struggles. I've slashed his budget down to nothing to do Masan. I've seen that man find himself first before he found his voice. So I'm saying my entire conversation is was out of concern for, you have no idea the damage you have done to this one individual whose integrity,
Was compromised.
your work was cancelled by his own very people.
Yeah.
And that shook me.
You've touched a very important topic in terms of cancel culture, you know.
Yeah.
People think that they are entitled to cancel you because you're in the public domain. And it happens all the time. It's happened to me, it's happened to you.
Yeah.
What they don't realize is, even as public figures or people who have a public persona, you can make mistakes. If you own up,
everybody can make mistakes.
I don't deserve to be cancelled.
Absolutely, everybody can make mistakes, and we can acknowledge our mistakes and we can admit to our mistakes. The problem is there's this thing of wanting to prove that,
Yeah.
I'm right and you're wrong, and that overtakes so much. I've seen people's language change.
Yeah.
I'm saying if you're fighting for a cause, suddenly your language also starts becoming so rabid and everything.
Yeah.
So it is suddenly like, okay, I don't know if this person ever sounded like this.
No, and there's a real person reading and actually absorbing these, because I know that it's taken a toll on me several times in the past. I mean, now I'm relatively less like engaging, but I'm actually reading. And like you're using very nasty words. You're taking out the time to write a message that is just filled with hate and anger and abuse over something that I did out of, it's my opinion.
Absolutely, but it comes from that world, That's what I say. It is very important. Discomfort is very important for your growth as a human being.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to answer uncomfortable questions. And we want to avoid being uncomfortable. So we try to build these walls, safety walls and things like that. And which is my biggest problem with any kind of censorship. Which is why I fight for freedom of speech. And it could be anything. The other guy who's on the other side, who I might call a propagandist, has as much freedom of speech as I do. Yeah. He's saying very uncomfortable things. But I have to deal with them. Because he exists.
And it's his right.
If I have a problem with his prejudice, if he has prejudice, that his prejudice exists.
Correct.
Either I make that extra effort to address his prejudice and make him see the other point of view. If I don't think I don't have that much energy, it's none of my business, then I can't cancel him. He will also exist, I'll also exist. That whole fight, I've wasted a lot of time doing this.
Yeah.
I've been part of that when I was fighting the world, attacking, accusing everything. I'm saying, look at around you. I'm living in a small world, in an echo chamber, on a social media, where everybody's shouting, nobody's listening. It's happening the world over. It's not intrinsic to India. It's happening in every part of the world.
Yeah.
Every part of the world. So I don't want to be part of the noise.
What advice would you give a lot of youth actually watch our show on cancel culture?
I don't know. I don't know. I've seen my daughter go through anxiety. I've seen my daughter go through so much anxiety. And I just feel that, give peace a chance, give people a chance.
Let them make mistakes.
They will make mistakes. Until you don't make your mistakes, how will you learn and how will you grow? If somebody has made a mistake and you have pointed out a mistake, right? Yeah. And the person acknowledges it, have the generosity. Let the person grow. We don't have that generosity anymore. We have this need for validation. The world of social media, we constantly need to be validated.
I'm right. Like I'm right.
No, I exist. I'm right. I exist. My way of seeing the world is the way of seeing the world. There's various kinds of validation. Yeah. There's constant need for validation. Is what for me is a massive problem. Which is also like, हम लोग movies बनाते हैं तो उसमें जब तक movie blockbuster नहीं हो जाती है, hit नहीं हो जाती है, validated नहीं होती है. That's why I'm an unvalidated filmmaker. I'm a flop filmmaker. But I have the freedom to do what I want to do.
Speaking of which, you're making a comeback into acting with
Haddi.
We must talk about Haddi. How is that looking, and how's it?
We are watching the film in next 2 days. I've seen a rough cut. It's a world that I've never seen before. The first time Akshat Ajay Sharma, the director, he and his co-writer, they wrote this world, Balla. And I have not seen this kind of world on screen before.
Wow.
The world that he's created.
Yeah.
And he's made me play a very loathsome human being.
Yeah.
A very loathsome human being in a very loathsome world. So, nothing, he's very clear in what he wants to do.
How is it with Nawaz?
Nawaz is always a comfortable place.
Yeah.
And Nawaz, between me and Nawaz, it's always been comfortable. He's also extremely misjudged and misconstrued person also because of whatever it is. The world sees you for many things. He's the guy who doesn't defend himself, who always stays silent. Very rarely he'll stand up to something out of love or whatever reason it is, or out of awkwardness. But when he does it, really makes a difference. But most often he does not. But I know him really well, inside out. So I have a very special place for him in my heart. And it
was great working together.
It's always great working with him. For me, it's always good working with him.
Any special memories this time around when you're acting together as opposed to you directing him?
Yeah, the way he kicked my ass. He really kicked my ass.
Yeah? Why do you say that?
The action sequence.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a villain and the hero. The hero kicks the villain's ass.
Yeah, that's how it is. That's how it plays out.
That's how it is.
Amazing. Okay, we'll go into the next segment. It's called What Would You Do If? What would you do if you were given complete creative freedom and an unlimited budget for a project, but you had to make something that deviated from your original style? Like you had to do something very fluff or chick flicky.
I'll do, but I don't need unlimited budget for that.
No, but you're getting unlimited budget. So what would you do
with
if...
unlimited budget, then what? I don't know what I'll do. I'll buy a lot of property and create a set and make films for the rest of my life.
Okay. What would you do if you could step into the shoes of any iconic filmmaker for a day, alive or dead, and direct a film in their signature style? Who would it be?
Oh, I would not like to step into any iconic filmmaker's shoes. I would like to watch their process. I would like to be
like a fly on the wall.
Yeah, I would like to be right next to when Coppola made Apocalypse Now. The madness around it, or Herzog made Fitzgeraldo. Those kind of madness that I've seen on screen, how did they pull it off?
Yeah. How did it happen?
Yeah, like Herzog's madness I would like to see up close, and how did these guys go and do Apocalypse Now? We've all seen the documentary, but or like, that kind of thing.
What would you do if you stumbled upon an unauthorized but a better remake of one of your films?
I would love it.
Yeah?
I would love it. I would try to see who's directed it and scratch his name out and put my name there.
It's mine. I'm re-releasing it.
I'll scratch your name and put my name there. Wishfully directed by something like that.
Okay, we're down to a last question. You've led such a life of adventure and perseverance and have all these...
I have not made a blockbuster, but I think my life would one day make
like a book or a film. If it's a book, I can write it.
Yeah.
If it's a film, I can make it.
Yeah, it's been quite a life.
And it's filled with like perseverance. You have this very go-getter, it's fine, like I'll bounce back kind of attitude. So what advice would you give to people watching who are struggling to find their footing? Because there are so many people like that, especially...
They need to fall. I said you need to stumble and fall before you get up. Don't be afraid to fall. People are very afraid of failing and falling.
Yeah.
And that's where they never learn to walk. You have to fall. You have to fail. Only then you will get up and learn to walk. Only then you will learn to stand up. It's from mistakes you learn the most. Yeah. One has to be like that.
That's good advice. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much.
It was worth the wait. one year.
Yes, I know.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
If you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon. Thank you all for being the best community, and I'll see you soon.